Okay, let's talk a little bit about Mode 2, how it came about, what it does and doesn't do, and what I think its strengths and weaknesses are. So, as I was saying, I had previously discovered Mode 1 and that kind of movement. And it works for a lot of things. It's a very versatile technique, but it had a couple of drawbacks that I could never really solve for myself. And I really wanted to get around those. First, I really like the sound of hybrid picking. I like the attack of the fingers on the string. I was doing things, like just sometimes just playing lead with just the pick and fingers. Because I think that's just such a beautiful sound. Even unplugged, you can hear, you know, there's a different character to a finger pick note, and I really liked that. And I wanted to be able to include hybrid picking in my playing, and I had been doing, some stuff like this with the thumb and the fingers, but it wasn't very developed at the time. And then I had been using Mode 1, that movement. And I got my first really good amp, I think when I was about 16, maybe 17. I'm going to say 17. And I noticed there was a fair bit more noise than I had previously. The amp was just more sensitive, it was less forgiving. We've all had that experience. And I'd already had this kind of idea of picking with the thumb and the fingers, which I loved because it was so clean. It's completely damped here. I can be on two strings and I know there's not going to be any noise when I play that way. So I must have had this subconsciously, and I had the pick in my hand and I went to adjust the dial on the amp, and I put my picking hand on the guitar in this position. Now, I don't know why I didn't, I'm a righty. Maybe it's because I had the pick in my hand and I just didn't want to put it down and change the dial with my, change the knob with my right hand, but I changed it with my left. I put it in this position, and I noticed that there was no noise. All of the feedback, all of the screaming of the amplifier was just gone. And the reason is because in this position, every single string is damped. There's an almost comprehensive damping technique here with just the right hand. In fact, the only string that I can't damp super comfortably with this position, with this hand position, is when I'm on the low E string. The high E string can ring out a little bit sometimes, but that's easy to fix because it's one string for the left hand to damp, which massively reduces the difficulty in damping, and it's much easier to play clean. So I noticed immediately that this position wasn't giving me as much noise, and I thought that this is something I should try to really ingrain in my playing. And I noticed also that all of my fingers, because it must have come from this thumb and finger picking, position that I already had in my playing, all of those fingers were right there. They were ready to be played. It's very easy for me to use my fingers there. In fact, it's very easy to use all three of my my picking hand fingers, including the pinky, which a lot of people don't do even when they're hybrid picking. I just adjust this a little bit here. There we go. So you can see here that all of my fingers are aligned like that. Okay, so I thought I should learn how to pick from here. This might solve my problem, right? And the movement, I think, again, I can only talk about what I feel. I think it's almost pure deviation. Like that. Like that. There's less edge picking than Mode 1. There is a slight primary kind of downward pick slant or escaping upstroke, but I can pretty easily rotate to an escaping downstroke. So this position has a good capacity for me for alternate picking, and I already had the ideas of cross picking, the ideas of two-way pick slanting. So I knew what I would be needing to accomplish from these positions again if I was trying to play picking lines, and I couldn't quite manage the string changes yet. So I have two-way pick slanting. I can get my downward pick, downward escaping stroke, and my upward escaping stroke. I can also use my fingers. I can hybrid pick, which is great. Which big fan of Eric Johnson, big fan of Brett Garsett, and wanted to be able to do that. So that was something that was starting to appear, and the other thing, and this was almost it was an unintended thing. It wasn't something I was looking for in this technique, but it's something which is a consequence of the hand position. Because I'm not moving out of the plane of the string in every stroke as I was in mode 1, I can stay inside the plane of the strings if I want to, much more easily. I'd always found it difficult to do economy picking or sweep picking in mode 1 because the entire technique is designed around the idea of escaping the plane of the strings. With this mode 2, it's much easier for me to stay double trapped if I want to, which means it's easier for me to incorporate a descending sweep or an ascending sweep. A sweep towards the floor, a sweep towards the ceiling. That was something that I had a lot of difficulty with mode 1. So I can hybrid pick very comfortably. I can alternate pick, kind of a two-way pick slanting thing, and I can get some economy picking for the first time, which I had never had before. And from here, this was basically my default position for a long time. I still at this time thought that a one-way pick slanting system was not 100% worthwhile, that if you could only change strings after one kind of stroke, then what benefit was it? And that was obviously short-sighted, and I understand that now, but at the time I was very much doing pretty much strict alternate picking and then hybrid picking and then a couple of economy picking licks that were strict economy picking in the sense that all of the gambale string changes lined up. So if I wanted to change direction, I needed an even number of strings. I needed an even number of pick strokes to change direction. I needed an odd number to maintain direction. That was the capability I had with this for a long time. The big revelation for me, and this is my biggest takeaway from cracking the code by a long way, is the interview with Marshall Harrison exposed me to the idea of blending these sweeping or economy patterns with hybrid picking, so-called swybrid picking. This is only the last few years, and this really increased the capability of this mode for me. So I still had the two-way pick slanting, like that, and I could get consecutive downstrokes. So that's a consecutive downs or consecutive ups, which I could never really do before. But when I saw the Marshall Harrison interview, and I saw the combination of economy picking with hybrid picking, that was a revelation. It really, really worked for me. That made certain things possible that I didn't think I'd ever be able to play, really. So just the basic idea of swybrid picking, for those who are maybe unfamiliar with it. The basic idea of swybrid picking is that when I change strings, I either want ascending or descending sweeps, or I want a hybrid picked stroke after a pick stroke. So for example, I can ascending sweep, descending sweep, or down finger, up finger. And up finger is really the one that makes all of this work. That transition from the upstroke to the finger picking up with the middle finger, that really is the crucial movement. This is what really opens the doors. There, I think, is a really good demonstration of the power of this technique. There's a clinic video where Sean Lane is talking about rhythmic groupings, the kind of rhythmic groupings he has in his playing. He talks about 6s and 4s and 5s, and he says that groups of 3 played with 2 notes per string or 3 notes per string are just too difficult. This is Sean Lane saying that something is too difficult. There isn't much that man found too difficult. So let's take him at his word that it's an otherwise hard problem, and it is. If I'm trying to do that with mode 1, I really have to struggle. That's threes, pentatonic threes, with strict alternate picking and 2 notes per string, and then I can't even really play ascending threes diatonically using strict alternate picking. It's just it's a coordination that's not built into my brain yet. Ugh. Like that. And there's quite a lot of movement there. It's not an easy pattern to play, but with the Swibert picking, it's very, very easy because I can always stay trapped in the plane of the strings. So with the pentatonics, I go down, up, middle, down, down, up. And it becomes, very easy. Like that. Again, you can go faster, but the principle is that now I'm playing something that is unfeasibly difficult otherwise. And as for the diatonic threes, again, kind of same position for the fretting hand, just so I'm not blocking anything. For diatonic threes, it would be up, down, up, middle. Like that. So up, down, up middle. I can do it ascending or descending. Like that. It's very, very easy. Again, not something that you can't bring up to pretty crazy speeds when you're warm. It's very, very efficient, very easy. And another example here, I suppose, of this is that for your standard 3-string arpeggio shapes, these don't meet the gambale string change rules. And even now I still find that awkward. But with the Swibert picking, up, middle, ring, very, very simple to play very smoothly, very fluidly. Very, very easy. The big benefit of this for me, though, of course, was that it accomplished my primary goals, which were hybrid picking and a softer attack that I could blend with legato playing more. And it really does have a softer attack. It's just not the same. And normally, the more edge picking you have, the softer the attack. But it's just something about the movement chain that's different, and it ends up in a much smoother attack for me. Like that, very, very easy. very smooth, blends with legato very well, incorporates the sweeping, still allows me alternate picking, and I can still cross pick. I wouldn't call this my primary cross picking technique, but I can still do it. I just add a little bit of extension on the downstroke, maintaining the default kind of primary down pick slant. And I can cross pick just fine. It's not as fast a cross picking motion for me as mode 1. If I was playing extended cross picking lines, I would probably want to switch to mode 1, but it's still functional, which means that this is my all-round technique, and for that reason it's my default. This is still my default. This is where my hand naturally goes now when I pick up a guitar. That's mode 2. Hopefully that answers some questions about it, and on to mode 3.